What's up, music makers? It's Terry at Switzerville Sound Retreat. Today we're going to talk about stems versus multitracks. We're going to get these terminologies clear. We're going to jump into a session and really explain the differences between the two, the considerations when printing out assets for the artist or whoever you're delivering tracks to, and hopefully you'll leave this video with a clear understanding of what the two are. Let's dive in. I've got a session here, and the way it's routed and the way I route my sessions is a good way to show the difference between a stem and a multitrack. Now, a stem is basically a whole bunch of multitracks malted into a stereo channel and delivered as such. A multitrack is each individual channel. Now, this drums master is everything in the drums going into a stereo folder. It's technically called a stereo routing folder in Pro Tools. Everything's going to that stereo track, and if I was to print this, I would get the conglomerate of everything that's going on in this drums folder. Now, within this drums folder, I have a couple more routing folders. Let's say for this kick drum in this song, I have 5 multitracks that encompass the kick sound. There's the kick in and out, 2 samples, and actually 3 samples with a rim sample, which acts kind of like space and a reverb, but it's a sample. Technically speaking, that would also be a stem. These routing folders are all conglomerates of the multi-channels that make them up. Now for the overheads here, it's only the left and right overhead, so there's not a ton going on in there. But nonetheless, you would be giving less flexibility if you only delivered this folder bounced. If I was to deliver the drums like this, and let's just say I only wanted to give certain flexibility to a mixer, this would be a way that I could deliver the drums. So when the mixer opened up the session, they would have the stereo overheads, the snare, the kick. I have to actually see some toms here. What they wouldn't have is control over the multitracks, which would be the sample versus the real mic blend, how much reverb is going into them. So stems are a way to control part of the produced sound that you have. If you want to lock out a mixer from a few things, this is where stems come in. They give you the ability to say, this is the sound, we don't really want this messed with. A lot of mixers would prefer to have the multi-tracks as well, and in the name of collaboration, usually it's good to deliver both. Usually if it sounds good, they're going to want to stick with something that's quick to mix. Where they will likely want to go into multitracks is if they are encountering some issues with maybe some frequency buildup, or maybe one sample is too hot and there's just a transient quality they're not liking. If it were me and I was going to deliver these drums, they would get the drum stem, they would get the kick, overheads, snare, and toms malted. And then they would get all the multi-tracks. I would then separate them when all the bounce tracks went out, so there was no confusion. I would make sure the naming was proper. So let's just say I actually go and do this bounce. And I'm just gonna do bounce files. And I would actually go in and make a folder called drum bounces. Okay, so we're gonna bounce that stuff down. This would be the official drum stem. So I would likely hunt down the buses. So that's the 5 tracks we spoke about. So you can right click, new folder with selection, and you can call that bus bounces. So now what you would have here technically is all of the multi-tracks left over. The gray area in between here is the buses, because if they liked the snare sound, then they might want to come in and say, well, you know, they're mixing. I'm not going to use these multi-tracks. I like the snare sound. I'm just going to dial that in. Mix-wise, I don't have to think about it. But maybe they're not as big on the kick sound. So that's where they would actually say, you know what, I'm not going to bring the bus in. I'm going to take individual kick multi-tracks and I'm going to create my own kick sound. Stems are the conglomerate of a set of multi-tracks bounced into one stereo track. Multi-tracks are each individual track in the session that combine to make a stem, essentially. Hope this has helped clarify the stems versus multi-track confusion. Stick around for the next video. Thanks for watching.